Hello, hello, hello! Aaron Trost here, your trusty host of Ask Aaron, a pickleball podcast designed so I can fix your pickleball drama so you can enjoy the experience. All right, today we have something that I think will definitely resonate with a lot of people listening. Fake illegal paddles being used in competition. So we had somebody here that wrote in an excellent question, and I'm looking forward to answering it today. Aaron, I recently entered a local tournament, and a guy named Lawson won gold in amateur mixed doubles. In the tournament, he used a fake Chinese Perseus Yola paddle, and it seemed to be pretty powerful and maybe a little delaminated. After the tournament, he bragged about using this paddle, so obviously he knew he used a fake Yola Perseus. Oh boy. So now they have 3 questions about this. 1, was this ethical? 2, should I complain to the tournament director? And 3, if this was a serious breach of the rules, what kind of punishment would be appropriate? All right, a lot of things to unpack here. You know, we've got Mark McGuire's legacy tainted with steroids, Tom Brady tainted with Deflategate, and now Lawson in a mixed doubles tournament has affected his legacy, and it doesn't look good. So let's get to the bottom of this and break it down. So let's look at the rule book. Okay, now these local tournaments, generally speaking, use the USA Pickleball rule book. When I was a pickleball teaching pro at Chicken and Pickle, that fun place over there, I adopted the USA Pickleball rule book just to make it simple. So I would imagine in the tournament rules, there's a very good chance they're following that rule book. So if they are, it's a clear breach of the rules. You have to have a paddle that is on the approved list at USA Pickleball's website. So if anybody wants to challenge that, hey, challenge flag right here. Okay, I got the rules right in front of me. Okay, I'm not going to read them verbatim. Okay, but at the end of the day, it says right here in 2F1, if you're following this at home and get your rule book out, players are responsible for confirming that the paddle that they are using for match play is approved and listed as pass on USA Pickleball's approved paddle list. Okay, so there is a responsibility that Lawson and other people do before you enter a tournament, okay, to make sure that the paddle you're using is on the pass list. Okay, so flag on Lawson there. Okay, and there's how do you handle the situation if it comes up? I think this is a very instructive point here. According to 2F1A, okay, this is very interesting. Listen up, because this might actually help you in a tournament. Okay, if at any point during the tournament it is determined that a player is using a paddle that violates any of the paddle specifications or is not listed on the USA Pickleball approved paddle list, the following penalties may apply. Okay, if the violation is identified prior to the match starting, then the player has to use an approved paddle. They cannot use a paddle that's not approved, okay? So if you catch it before the match, they have to switch out their paddles, okay? But you might, especially if you're playing somebody really good and you want to stick it to them, you might want to wait until the game starts if you see them have an illegal paddle, okay? Because here in the rules, and I learned this today, if a violation is identified after the match has started, the player or team forfeits the match being played, okay? So basically, let's say you're playing against Lawson, you see him bust out that illegal fake Yola Perseus, and it's, 3-2-2, and you say, hey, he's got an illegal paddle, okay? At that point, he's got to forfeit the match, and you move on in the bracket, okay? So, again, if you're looking for a cheap win, I kind of like those cheap wins. You might want to do that, okay? Now, here's something I don't like that USA Pickleball has, too. If the violation is discovered after the score sheet is returned to the tournament operations desk, the match results stand. Okay, so I got a problem with this. Okay, so I want to kind of get my challenge flag out here. USA Pickleball, I think we can do better than that. I'm sure the Lawsons of the world, they just can't wait. They always want to get that score sheet and just kind of sprint to the scoring desk. And now I think I know why. Because they know they can get away with one. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I realize that at the end of the day, there are a lot of illegal paddles out there, and there's no perfect way to solve this. I think in some ways this incentivized cheating, and the Lawsons of the world are just going to profit from stuff like that. So it's a violation of the written rules, and I think there are also unwritten rules that have been violated in this, okay? You know, the kind of unwritten rule in pickleball, especially at the tournament level, is, you know, you call your own lines and you want honesty, okay? And that's for the integrity of the game, and the game is bigger than you. It's also, you know, making sure everybody has a good experience, okay? And so I think same thing comes to paddles. Just like you call honest lines, you should be thinking about, okay, what paddle am I bringing? Is this legal? And at least check on the USA Pickleball list. So I don't think it's that hard to do, and I think it's showing respect for the other participants when that kind of thing happens. So yeah, Lawson definitely violated the unwritten rule, which is we got to respect amateur tournaments, and people got to have integrity when it comes to line calls, when it comes to paddles, when it comes to a lot of stuff. Again, I'm kind of throwing the flag one more time here at Lawson. Okay, other things to consider here. And there are a couple more things that I want to go over here. And let's start with, you know, what kind of punishment should be in order, okay? And, you know, it's too late to redo the tournament, right? You just can't throw it out and say forfeit, right? The Astros, when they were caught sign stealing, they didn't throw out that World Series. But one, maybe Lawson should be suspended for the next tournament. I would love to see that. Maybe put it on some of the local, you know, pickleball pages, maybe a little public shaming for somebody like Lawson. Okay, so we should do that. Maybe on the medal photo, maybe there's an asterisk. Maybe somebody could put an asterisk on a Facebook comment, Lawson used an illegal paddle in this tournament. Maybe, can you get an asterisk in Duper? I would love to see that. So at the end of the day, like, yeah, I think you should also bring this up to the tournament organizer. I definitely think it could be really, really helpful. I realize we can't get the expensive equipment in to test paddles and stuff like that at these amateur tournaments, but like, we can spot a delaminated paddle pretty easily. We hear it, you know, the crackling of the paddle, like that Yola mod. I had one. You could tell when it was crackling. You know, there are ways that we can quickly identify if a paddle is illegal. This might seem a little extreme. You know, I've seen this in the custom line when I'm doing work for this fine organization called Pickleball Planter. Random bag checks. I would like to see some random bag checks, okay? I'm sure the Lawsons of the world, they're kind of like, yeah, maybe I might be able to get away with this. And they're walking into the tournament with their bag, and, you know, maybe somebody goes through it. They see the real Perseus and they see the fake one, and they can ask them some tough questions about it. So I think that's something that definitely could be done. So yeah, mention it to the tournament director. Maybe they can work on spotting something like this. Maybe I can volunteer some of my time to go through bags if they do that. I would love to do that at the next tournament. But at the end of the day, we got to do better on these paddles, because if we don't, the Lawsons of the world are going to thrive. And I know how these Lawsons are. They got their long hair going. They're just crushing balls with their delaminated illegal paddle. And the reality is their mixed partner is doing all the work. And they're just getting the cheap thrill from using the illegal paddle. So at the end of the day, I think we can do better. We must do better. Shame on Lawson for using this paddle. And I hope this is very instructive for you here in this particular episode. So before we wrap up, I want to talk about this wonderful organization here called Pickleball Planter. Okay, we take paddles. So you got a delaminated paddle, you know, I could get that to Children's Home. They don't care over there, okay? I go overseas and do missions work with pickleball. So an organization like Pickleball Planter, maybe you have a good paddle. I can take that. You know, could be a tax write-off for you. I don't know. Talk to your accountant. But a big part of why I do this podcast is to plug Pickleball Planter, trying to do good work with pickleball overseas. So if you have used paddles, somebody in the paddle industry maybe listening to this, Yola, hey, I'm helping you out here a little bit. You know, send some stuff my way. I'm going to make sure it gets to a good cause. So, going to sign off here on the Ask Aaron podcast. Thank you so much for listening today. Hope to see you again soon.